How's it going, guys? It's Poetry Set, and welcome to our first recorded series that's not been a Twitch VOD series in quite some time. I believe this is the first actual YouTube videos that I've recorded and posted in like a few months. So, welcome to La Résistance. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly at all. I don't speak hardly any French, so hopefully I'm pronouncing that roughly correctly. But welcome to the newest expansion for Hearts of Iron 4. Just before we get going and get started here, the expansion comes out. So Paradox was kind enough to send me a copy of the expansion. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the details. It comes out on the 25th, which is Tuesday, I think. Tuesday. It has the features are a focus. I'm just gonna read them real quick before we get going. A new national focus thing. New national focuses for France, for Free France and the Vichy regime specifically. There are now national focuses for Republican and Nationalist Spain. There's a Portuguese focus tree. There's espionage, where you can kind of build up your agencies, and we'll be seeing a lot of that, obviously. There is resistance efforts now that you can support. There are collaboration governments that you can support. There's code cracking to go along with all the intelligence stuff, and there's recon units, specifically scout planes and armored cars. So, with that being said, and it will be $20, I think it's coming out on the 25th. With that being said, we're going to go and hop in here with my first campaign in this new expansion. I've done one campaign off camera already to get a feel. I didn't get that far. I got to like 1942 or something. But we're going to be playing today, as you could probably tell from the title, as Spain. And we're going to be going for the Carlist Spain, the Spanish Empire is what I'm going to be calling this. I believe I'm going to call this the Spanish Empire. Because we're going to be going the monarchist route of Spain. We will be calling this, we'll call it Monarchist Spain. I'm not sure what the series will be. It'll be something along, what the title will be. Something along those lines. Monarchist Spain. If you don't know, I'm a big, I guess you could call it a Hispanophile. As well as a Catalanophile. I love learning about Iberian history, especially Spain and Catalonia. I am a current graduate student of Spanish linguistics, so I really love the history of Spain, and that's why I've always been looking forward to this. Actually, I pretty much went from the time the game came out. I think I've been saying that I've gone on record several times as saying that I think that one of the biggest shames was that they didn't have a focus tree for Spain, because Spain has one of the more interesting conflicts of the time period of this game. Obviously, World War II is the main conflict, but I think that the Spanish Civil War is just as interesting and as like salient, and culturally significant as was the war in China and stuff. So, like the Civil War. I mean, it's not the conflict between China and Communist China, etc. And so first off, one thing I've really liked about this expansion so far, I'm not going to do any type of review stuff here, but I will say, look at this frickin' focus tree. When I saw this, I was like, oh my god. Like, Jesus, dude. I think this is the largest focus tree in the game. I can't think of any other one that's bigger. I'd have to go look, and I haven't looked at the other ones. But I'm pretty sure this is the largest one. And part of the reason is because it's really two separate trees. You can see there's a clear divide here. Everything on the right is dealing with Republican Spain, and on the left is Nationalist Spain. So depending on which direction you go, right off the bat, you're limiting yourself to half the tree. Beyond this, even after this, then further down in each, there is a three-way split. So really, this is like 6 focus trees. There's a little bit of overlap and connections between some of them, but still. And pretty much, and I'm going to talk a lot more about this as we get going. I don't want to spend too long on it before we get going. But pretty much the options here seem to be, at least I've looked through the tree a good bit. Because Spain is, again, being a Hispanophile, the Spanish focus tree Spain is the only one I've really even looked at. I've looked at Portugal, at the Portuguese focus tree a little bit. It's not nearly as big, but it's still pretty reasonable. I haven't really looked at it in depth. And I haven't looked at the new French ones either, but partially because you can't see them right off the bat. It's for Free France and Vichy France. So, in any case, The options, as far as I can tell, are basically looking at this row here. You can go with a phalangist Spain. You can go with a unified nationalist front, sort of keeping the Carlists and the phalangist fascists both happy at the same time. You can go the Carlist route, doing more of a monarchist, restoration of the monarchy route. The historical thing that happened was this one in the middle. The sort of a middle ground. That's what Franco did, you know. But we'll talk about that more. On this side, you can go more with a democratic route, I believe. Or no, I think this one is non-aligned. Actually, I haven't looked at this side. This is one of the few sides I haven't really looked at. But there's also a pretty much all of them deal with some level of, you know, dealing with communism. You can either expand Soviet aid and become basically a puppet of the Soviet Union, or you can be more democratic. And so, yeah, there's quite a bit here. And I haven't really looked at this side as much. I think I'm going to do a separate run where I go as Communist Spain. But this time we're going to be going the monarchist route. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started here. There's a lot to talk about, and I don't want to just be talking. So we're going to go with a Great Spain, going the nationalist route right off the bat. So it's 35 days, as a lot of these early ones are, to really get you up to speed. 28 days for this one too, which is interesting. 28 days, 35 days. So we're going to get going right off the bat here. So okay, let's go ahead and do our normal things. We'll talk about this. There isn't too much different in this in the tech side of things, except for this line here, and where is it? And this line here of scout planes, and they took off the decryption encryption, since that's now its own thing. So that's about all I'm going to mention there. The technology is really the same as before in regards to that, at the very least. What am I doing? Here we go. Okay. So let's get that going. Let's get some factories building. So if we're going to be going the nationalist route, we have missions that lead us down a path where essentially we get to, oh gosh, I have like some onion in my eye for my breakfast. I mean, omelet or something, and my eye is like watering. Some of these events, the Spanish Civil War is its own whole thing now. And again, I'm going to kind of talk about this as we get going, so I don't want to keep the discussion for now. But as we get going, you guys will see that the Civil War is like, it's pretty in-depth now. And one of the things that we can do is that at a certain point, we will unlock the decision. Where is it? Not there. Not there. This one. Essentially, there is at some point we unlock the mechanics of being able to. Where is it? I want to find it actually, so I don't. One of the. That's weird. I can't seem to find it. I think it might be through an event actually. Eventually, there's going to be an event that we'll see pretty soon, actually, that'll essentially unlock a whole new screen, a whole new map mode that shows us the regions of Spain, and we can use political power to attempt to control the garrison. And when the war breaks out, the garrisons that we have the most control over will spawn under our control with units, and the ones that we don't will spawn under the Republican control. And this is a really cool system. I actually really like it from the one time I went through so far. But since we are going to be able to do this, secure the northern garrisons, this is not a mutually exclusive thing. We can go all the way to here and then take this. Since we can do this, we will get total control in Galicia, León, Salamanca, Valladolid, Burgos, Western Aragon, and Navarra. So what we should do is we should build up things in those areas, right? I don't think any of our factories are even going to finish before then, probably. Let's just set up... actually, that's not one of them, is it? León was another one. Just queue up a few things there, and beyond that, do like normally I do something like this. We have unassigned divisions, that's fine, honestly. So since we're obviously not going to be focusing too much on the African front and stuff, what we're going to do is we're just going to, for now, get them all back to Madrid with a quick garrison order. Free dockyards. What I normally will do is let's do this. I normally like to just kind of finish up what the AI already had going. and then I will kind of restructure my naval thing, because I find it too tedious to have a lot of different lines. I just kind of like to set and forget it with my navy, because I'm lazy, but that's how it is. So let's do that. Let's take our ships here. Let's put them all in Madrid for now. So as we're getting going here, let's let this go. I think once we complete the first one, maybe then a lot of this stuff will happen. We have elections actually coming up soon, and as you can see, Spain is fairly split. I believe this pretty much models the real life situation. As far as national spirits, we have Carlism, which it gives us some penalties as well as daily support for unaligned. Military disloyalty, we literally cannot train units, disband units, or edit unit templates. There's no way to cheese it, basically, or they've tried to make it. They're probably still are ways. Political violence, stability down, and we cannot assign any laws or ministers. It's really important. And national strikes, some penalties as well as more stability penalty. So let's get going here. So yeah, I really love Spanish history. Let me make sure the recording is actually going too. Yes, it is. I really love Spanish history and culture and language. So I was really excited to know that they were finally adding a Spanish Civil War treat, or Spanish national focus treat for both sides. Because again, this is the Spanish Civil War. I think as Americans, at least, as a American, as in a person from the United States, I don't think we really learned about the Spanish Civil War at all. In fact, even if it's mentioned in a history class, I never took AP European history, so maybe I'm, and I didn't take any American history courses in college, so maybe this is a bad perception. But my perception is that here in the U.S., we don't really learn too much about the Spanish Civil War, but in reality, I think it's a pretty important event, and for a lot of people in Europe, it was like the warm-up for World War II, right? Including with, there were volunteer divisions, volunteer troops sent from lots of the major countries that fought on both sides. From, I believe, France. I know Italy and Germany were infamous for basically sending air squadrons and stuff to help nationalists, Spain. The Soviets, I believe, sent volunteers and did lend-leasing. There was U.S. pilots and stuff. I know there's actually a good movie I watched about that. But okay, we've finished the first one, which just gives us popularity of fascism and non-aligned. Okay, this is the one that will give us political power. Because right now, even though we're earning political power, we can't spend it, but you'll see that soon we will have things to spend it on. So, the elections are about to happen at some point during this month. So yeah, so in real life, as far as I know, I've read many books about Spanish history, and I've seen movies and plenty of other things that have dealt with the Spanish Civil War, and I know many Spaniards. I've had Spanish professors. I studied abroad in Spain, and here it is. And the Spanish Civil War is a very, very important event in Spanish history, modern Spanish history. Okay, so so here we have the results of the election. The left-wing Popular Front has won, which is how it happened historically, and fascism popularity goes up, and we get unlocked the expand garrison control decisions. So, only states, this is important, only states that have total nationalist garrison control upon the start of the Civil War will begin under our ownership. This is important. However, we will still have troops spawn in those states, even if we don't have total control. Total garrison control, we will still have states have troops spawn if we have some control. So here is where you can see, this is the map mode for this, and I think this is very interesting. And so basically, it took me a little bit to realize what you're looking at. So you want to, if you're playing this, when you guys start playing this or whatever, the 3 X's represent 3 levels of control. This doesn't really explain that very well, I find. But it's basically like, it's a step system where basically you try to buy up the influence, and then the Republicans could try to buy down, your influence. By default, they have influence. They don't have to buy influence. They just have it. They can try to counteract your influence, though. So, in my experience, again, I've only played one campaign, not even a full campaign, but so we are going to get the secure northern garrisons, right? And so we're going to get total control of all of these up in the north, except for the ones that we don't are Asturias and País Vasco, a Basque country. Those are the only two states, and maybe Navarra. Actually, no, I think Navarra was one of the ones. We do get Navarra, but there is a little island here. So what we could do, we want to start buying influence right away, paying for influence right away, garrison control. And so I think we might want to focus on Asturias and Basque country to kind of knock out one of these fronts. So let's go ahead and do that. In my experience, they do buy down. They frequently try to counteract your stuff. We also, this is another thing, we also have a timer for the start of the Civil War. There's actually no, as far as I can tell, there's probably a way to avoid it. But I don't think the way we're going to be able to avoid it. The Civil War, we're not going to be able to do like a coup or anything. And basically, we have a timer until the war starts. The war will start in 248 days, which is not that long away. However, there are ways to extend this. So, for instance, some of these things, not this one, and some of these events here are just events that happen. You don't really have linear control of them, as far as I can tell. Like for this one, you can't abort it because can't change from being Spain. Basically, it's if the war starts and this one's going, then that would do it. But I don't think that can happen. And if we had gone the other way, this wouldn't have happened if we were going the Republican route. So, as we also have these events, which I believe all of them you can do over and over again. So you can change popularity of fascism with a Primo de Rivera speech. You can do political assassinations. You can do all this stuff. I don't think that any of this is going to be too good, but I think this one's all right, like the strikes one. We really want to save our power for the garrisons. However, as you can probably tell, you can only do one at a time. So, let's keep going here. I believe one of the events here actually also can extend the start of the war, give you a little more time to prepare, but I think that's fine. I would take a sip of my coffee, I apologize. So, obviously I've been talking very rapidly because I really do, this topic interests me and a lot on a personal level outside of the game, right? And that's why we're doing this in first instead of a French or a Portuguese campaign, which I also want to do. So again, this is about, it says it's about to time out and it has a red thing, but there's not a thing we can do about it. So, oh yeah, this is the one. So this one basically will increase 15 days on that. Okay, well, there we go. We're done with the first level. Let's go ahead and spread the influence a little bit. So let's go next one there. There you go. But yeah, so I think that one thing I will say, even without spoiling what may end up happening, which we'll talk about later, and no spoilers, but one thing that I think that this game has modeled really well with this expansion, as far as the Spanish stuff is concerned, again, I'm going to be talking a lot about the Spanish side of things because that's the only one I've played, and that's what I'm playing now. And so keep in mind that I'm going to be talking a lot about this and my perceptions of how this is going. I'll probably stream a France attempt or something once the embargo lifts. But as far, just taking everything I'm saying in mind, this is only about the Spanish part of this expansion and the espionage stuff too, which is going to be for any country. But okay, let's do this real quick. We only have one option right now, so nothing to really go. Basically, this means that non-aligned will get more popular, and we get some well-trained units on the start of the war. All right. So, what was I saying? One thing I think that this expansion has done really well with the Spanish side of things is modeling a very, very complex conflict, right? The Spanish Civil War, for those of you who don't know, it's a pretty complex situation where essentially, let's see, hold on. So actually, yes, you can see now they are influence challenge in the País Vasco garrison. So they are going to be challenging it, which is very annoying. But it's okay. So I haven't figured out if there's any way to stop this. Oh my god, 20 minutes already passed. Jeez, we'll go a little longer. I don't think that there's any way to do this right now. So, yeah. So the question becomes, do we want to kind of keep going with these ones or try to expand to other ones like Catalonia or Madrid, right? I think for now I'm going to try to consolidate. So yeah. Let's see. So anyways, for those of you who might not know, like the Spanish Civil War was more than just a lot of people on the surface level. It was like the fascists and nationalists versus the Republicans, which included like Democrats and Democratic supporters, socialists and communists and anarchists. But in reality, it was a lot more complex than that. In reality, it was much more like well, so after, each side was comprised of many different factions, not just those few. For instance, the nationalist side was, Franco he was a friend of Hitler and Mussolini, right? So obviously, he was a fascist, but at the same time, he also was not really in the same vein of fascism as either Mussolini or Hitler. He was very much more like a strong Catholic nationalist, right? He essentially, as far as I understand it, basically wanted to give the church control over everything. He also was a supporter of the monarchy. He actually wanted to restore the monarchy, and he basically wanted to restore the monarchy and restore the church to their position of power in the state, meaning as in that all education would be run by the church again, and priests would run education and everything, right? A very, very strong, nationalized, centralized, religious kind of Catholic regime. Okay. Here we go. Negotiate Carlist support. And so we can't do this one until the Spanish War has begun. So that's fine. For now, let's do this one. Okay. Yep. So this one will give us more units. Okay. So should we do one of these? We have plenty of power now. We're not going to be able to spend it all on these things because we only do one at a time. So why don't we go ahead and do... I think this one is all right because it basically means a general will join our side. And I think this one's all right as well. So let's do this. Okay. I gotta wait more. But yeah, so there was not only the nationalists in reality included basically clergymen, lots of clergymen in Spain, right? Which you wouldn't think. There were plenty of clergymen who supported the Republican side too, obviously, but there were lots of clergymen who wanted to restore basically Catholic education and stuff. There were phalangists and fascists in the vein of like Mussolini or Hitler, basically. There were monarchists too, which is again why there was a significant percentage of people that were monarchists, which is why there's a whole option to bring back the monarchy essentially. And so this is let's see, what do we have going on here? Yeah, that's fine. For now, I'm just gonna let that go. We're not gonna mess with spy stuff yet. And so, that's just on the nationalist side, right? On the Republican side, I think it was even more varied because you had basically people on the center right who supported it. You had people who were basically moderate leftists. You had people who basically, and you had socialists. You had various socialist parties. You had various communist parties. You had anarchists, especially in like Catalonia. And eastern Spain, you had anarchists, right? And let's see, I normally do dispersed if you're in Europe, in this part of Europe, where you're going to be probably bombed a lot, depending on who we're with. But in reality, I don't think there's a big difference here. And so there was, and so as well as I believe the Republicans were supported by specifically lots of Catalan nationalists and Basque nationalists who saw this as an opportunity to basically gain greater power and autonomy. and especially because the other side, the nationalists, kind of wanted to stomp autonomy of regions out. So it was quite a varied front there. And what's really interesting, and something this game does model well, spoilers, we'll probably see this happen in my game, I imagine, is basically at the start of the Civil War in real life, okay, and this is the one that's going to be really good for us, securing the northern garrisons. So basically, at the start of the Civil War, after the initial outbreak where the nationalists declared on the rest of Spain and the Civil War started, there was essentially a civil war within a civil war, where in Catalonia, especially in Barcelona, there was a massive anarchist uprising. People basically saw this as an opportunity to progress like the anarchist agenda, and basically rebelled against the Republican government that was sort of cooperating with the Republicans in Madrid. As far as I understand, I'm probably butchering a few details, but I believe this is as best as my memory can recollect. It's been a while since I've actually read a book about this, so this is annoying. Also, I shouldn't be waiting, really. I shouldn't be spending any time waiting. But anyways, the let's see, let's do this one. And so essentially, there was a massive anarchist uprising within the Republican coalition that essentially almost created like a third separate faction. However, if I remember correctly, I believe that it was resolved peacefully after a few weeks of basically full-on revolts, where essentially the anarchists had de facto control over the industry and economy of Catalonia, especially Barcelona. I believe that essentially the leaders of the anarchist and parties, the other parties, because I think some of the communists as well were involved, I believe that some of them eventually they came to an agreement and basically said, well, like, the bigger threat is obviously the nationalists. Let's wait. We can fight amongst ourselves if we win the war, right? And they stopped fighting amongst themselves. But it's very interesting. I find it very fascinating, actually. Since we're getting closer to the Civil War, let's go and do this. And yeah, let's see. How long is this video been going? I don't want to make this too long a video, but we'll go a little... I mean, first video, we can make like 30 minutes-ish. That's fine. Man, this is annoying that they keep challenging me. Is it better to keep... Here's where we need to make a decision. We only have time for a few more. It takes 14 days. So we have time for, again, like 9 more, it looks like, if everything goes according to plan. Do we want to keep challenging them back and forth, or do we want to spread elsewhere? I think we probably want to spread elsewhere. Where do we want to spread? Well, that's a good question. Maybe Madrid, even? Let's try it. Let's try to get a level in Madrid. As long as we have a 2 levels, I think that'll be fine. So yeah, I think, and so we will probably see, in my first playthrough, I saw I don't remember what the name of the polity is, but an entity popped out in Catalonia and Aragon and stuff that was basically an anarchist state, which kind of models what actually happened. And it essentially declares war on both the other two, and now there's a 3-way war. And spoilers, there's also other possible things that can happen with us if we don't manage to bridge the conflict between Phalanges and Carlists, right? Hint, hint, we may have to deal with that. In fact, I think there's a good chance we will. But we'll see as it unfolds for us this time. So we've secured the northern garrisons, which, as you can see, means that now we have complete control over a lot of the northern part of the country. So that's good. So anyways, hopefully you guys don't mind me blabbering about this stuff, but I find it personally fascinating, and I really, really appreciate how they have modeled the Civil War in this expansion. I really appreciate how much depth they've added. The fact that there literally can be like multiple divided fronts and coalitions instead of just nationalists and Republicans. It's much more realistic in that it shows the other side. Oh god, I didn't pick focus. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. It shows the other sides of it as well. The minority parties that still made up significant chunks of each side, and then almost even broke free. Almost created further conflicts in real life. and kind of did. But in this game, they can make the conflict much more complex, and I think that's really cool. So basically, this is just if we want Franco to be a field marshal, or if we want to go without Franco and get more political power. I think we'll go the Francoist route. I think we're kind of doing an alternate history here, where if Franco had managed to bring back the monarchy. If I remember correctly, I'm not sure. I know Franco's goal was to bring back the monarchy, but I don't remember the reasons why he didn't actually do that. He invited the monarchy back, and I believe they lived in Spain as his guests, basically. But if I remember correctly, well, I know that at the end of his dictatorship, 30 years after the end of this game, actually closer to 40 from this time period, then he basically, when he was getting towards the end of his life, he didn't have an heir, and he basically told, if I remember correctly, he basically asked I think it was the grandson of the last king before this, who had been many years before, generations before, right? He asked one of them, he asked this kid, he was basically a kid back then, 20 years old, who was the heir de jure, the rightful heir, to come back and basically to reform the Spanish monarchy, hopefully with, again, a strong Catholic presence and a very strong, iron fist. And that was Franco's plan. But if I remember correctly, the king, or the spoilers, the grandson refused. However, or he refused to do it in the way Franco wanted, at the very least. However, I'm gonna look this up real quick because I don't want to be rude. Because this guy still is alive. So Juan Carlos the First was the king, or the heir, right? And he after Franco died, he did take control of the government. However, he chose basically to bring democracy back, and I think he's very well respected. He's still alive, actually, and he is very well respected and regarded as basically a hero for bringing back Spanish democracy. And basically, there was at one point it got pretty close to having another second civil war, an insurrection by people who wanted the nationalist regime to continue. And he essentially basically personally stepped in and said, no, as king, I basically order you to step down. And that's why Spain today is a constitutional monarchy, is basically because he, as king, brought democracy back. And so anyways. Okay, I think we're going to wrap up here, actually. This is a good spot to end. I've been blabbering on about about history as I've been playing, but hopefully you've enjoyed. Again, thanks to Paradox for giving me a key of this expansion before its release. It's very kind of them. If you do enjoy this series, please leave a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, because this is a new series, and it's for my first YouTube series in a while. So please leave a like if you enjoyed. I will be streaming the day this goes up, probably later in the day, not sure, or maybe in the afternoon or evening of Saturday the 22nd. So just be aware of that. If you want to come to my Twitch channel, it's twitch.tv/poetrysagaming. Anyways, thanks for watching. Episode 2 will be up soon. Bye-bye.